Today we're going to talk about the disastrous tenure of Liz Truss, who served as the shortest serving ever British Prime Minister. Yesterday, the UK received their new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, but we're going to look at what happened in Truss's tenure, not because we want to pick on her, but because it's a really great example in the public domain of the kind of power dynamics that happen in every company. So rather than talk about our own individual companies, which either you don't have the knowledge of or it's just not okay to share, all of this is in the public domain. So we're going to look at what happened at a very high level, discuss a principle, and then apply that in a positive way to our own lives and what we can do in terms of power dynamics for ourselves and our teams and our companies. So Prime Minister Liz Truss resigned after just 45 days in office. This is the shortest tenure ever as Prime Minister. What happened? On the 5th of September, Liz Truss was elected as the Tory party leader, becoming the new Prime Minister. 3 days later, the Queen dies. The country goes into a couple weeks of mourning. On the 23rd of September, Truss and her Chancellor, Kwarteng, announced a mini-budget with $45 billion of tax cuts, which immediately sent the markets into a spiral. The pound hit an all-time low by Monday. But by the 14th of October, she's had to sack Kwarteng, and by the 20th, she resigns after just 45 days in office. There's a simple model that describes how individuals gain and hold organizational power. And it all starts with results. You wonder where power comes from, and this will work for all of your careers, those that you work for, those who work for you, and yourself. So as we go through this, you can look at all of the times that this has happened for you. But until results happen, there's really no conversation, right? We talk about sometimes earning the right, but everything starts with results. Good results lead to a strong brand. And so as you do things, you get known for the things that you do. And it's a little more complex than that because the results are what you do, and the brand is also how you do it. So there's formal and informal trust here, right? Can James do the work? And also, do I trust that James will do the work in a way that I would approve of because I'm delegating power and authority to him? If I can do both of those things, access opens up. And access is informal power. Access is things like when you pull one of your best employees up and you share a little bit more of the agenda with them. You explain more of the strategy. You spend more time coaching them. You give them more tools, right? You give them the best assignments. So access is all the informal things that happen, which leads to the formal power of role, responsibility, title, budget, manpower, all the formal things that we have in organizations. I call this the momentum model because the process is always in motion. It's never static. You're always delivering results. Your brand is always moving, and your access and power are always moving. So this can spin up if you do a good job and you're known for it. You listen to the access, you gain more power, and then you do that to deliver even more results, and you can cycle through this very, very effectively. The downside is that it also spirals downwards. As results worsen, people start to lean in. And if you haven't had it done to you, you've probably done it to someone else where someone's not doing it the right way or the right thing. And so suddenly the results start to reverse and you need to lean in, or somebody leans in on this individual. And you start to restrict their power and their access. It's like, look, don't focus on anything else. I just need you to do this one thing. I need a daily report on my desk. I need daily updates. I need you to fill out this dashboard, and I need this, minute by minute plays, right? They lose the latitude to operate. And what that can do sometimes is it gives you handcuffs to get more results. And so what you can start to do then is spiral downwards. The other thing here to think about is the fact that all of these four factors move together. So whether they're moving up or down, you can judge the other three based on one, which takes a lot of the guesswork out of how I'm doing, right? If your access is improving, your brand is improving. If your power is increasing, it's because your results and your brand and your access have increased already. So let's look at this and what this means for us and how we can apply this to our own careers and what you can do with it right now. So the first thing here is always start strong. Results are really important. What happened to Truss is tragic because she actually started with a net approval of minus 30. So 60 against, 60% of the population against her, 30% of the population for, minus 30 approval rating on the first day that she started. So she's already standing on the cliff edge. Other presidents, prime ministers, Boris Johnson, Theresa May, Gordon Brown, all started with a net approval of plus 30 on their first day. They're 6 steps away from the cliff edge. So knowing that she's already on the cliff edge and she's already been served up, and we're going to talk a little bit about the context more in a minute, the very first thing she does is a mini budget that doesn't need to happen, that's highly experimental, and that has not been tested. The markets freak out. This purple line is an aggregate score of her momentum, but you could put anything. This could be her power, her brand, her results. They all track the same. So what immediately happens is she dives down. She takes a massive, massive, massive hit. Other people who maybe had started a little bit with a little bit more power, a little bit more brand, could take a hit like this on their first few weeks. Unfortunately, Truss didn't have that ability. She didn't have that context. So she's already taken a huge hit. And we can talk about now, there's a slow decline after that, but unfortunately she's already past the point of no return, right? So the clown music and the lettuce and the rebellions, they all flow naturally from this because she's already past the point of no return. She's already lost her base. What this means for us is the first things we do in a new role or a new company or a new initiative are vitally important because they set the tone for what's about to happen. We talk about easy wins, but the easy wins are important not just because they're nice to have. They're vitally important to power. Wins create power. So if you are doing anything new, you need to have a very, very strong plan around how you are going to get through your first 30, 60, 90 days and stack small wins. That means don't do anything that you haven't done before, right? And I see this mistake happen a lot where people get into a new role and they're like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. And now I'm going to do this thing that no one in the history of the world has ever done. I'm like, no, stick to what got you there. You got the new role based on the last role and the success and the brand that you had in the last role. So they're expecting some of that, if not all of it, at least some of it to flow into the new job. That's why you're there. So do what you did well in the last job, or at least the parts of it that you were hired for, to really stack easy wins, which feels like very, very small stakes, but is incredibly vital to setting the scene and growing power, which will insulate you from failures that you will have, because we all have failures at some point. The next part is getting the right results. And results, so we talk about getting results, but the right results are really, really important. Results are in the eye of the beholder. So it's about getting the results that your stakeholders, the people that put you in power, that gave you formal power, what are they looking for? And the problem for Truss in this example is she goes through step by step and alienates everyone. So if we look here, we've got the press, the markets, we've got the MPs and the general people. So Judi Dench, Emily Blunt, and Jason Statham are the common people of the United Kingdom. And so at the beginning, and we've also, by the way, we've got Boris Johnson down there, which is a very, very interesting thing, because imagine getting pushed into power knowing that you will fail. So Boris, the previous prime minister, got pushed out of office because he partied without a mask on when he was in the middle of lockdowns, and it was called Partygate, and everybody was really upset with him. So he got kicked out of office. So what do you do if you get kicked out of office? You make sure that your successor fails. So everybody remembers what a great job you did. Anyway, we've got the press, the markets, MPs, and people. So at the beginning, they're a little bit distracted by the Queen's death. She's already lost 60% of the people. There's only about 30% going for her anyway. And then she proposes the mini budget. And the problem with the mini budget, you immediately lose all of the financial district. So we lose both the Bobs, and we lose Gordon Gekko, and we lose some of the press. Lois Lane there, out. A few days, 1 week later. She reverses. And the problem with the reversal is she now loses the people that had still been with her. Well, pretty soon she's being likened to a lettuce in The Economist and the Daily Star, popular press, and the elite press. So she's got major problems here. They're playing clown music. She's got a big problem. And then she tries to force through a vote on fracking, at which her whole party just mutinies. And it wasn't about fracking. It was about the way that she did it and the fact that she had lost all credibility in that death spiral on the way down. So you see, as she goes through, she loses support after support after support, and it really becomes a death spiral. And I don't think that we as leaders recognize this enough. We can rely too much on formal power to carry us through, but recognize that what always sits behind formal power is much more important. It's the informal power. It's the brand. It's the relationships. Once you turn former allies into enemies, you've got multiple people gunning for you. You've got colleagues who really want you to fail so that they can take your position. You've got the press who are going to have a field day with you. You've got the same thing internally in companies. We don't have the same kind of press, but we still have people who would gleefully talk about how you're failing. And so these cycles are the same inside your company. And so the trick here is, who is your power base? Really understanding who elected you, appointed you, or just gave you a promotion into a role. What do they want from you? What did they hire you to do? They didn't hire you to do something experimental and then embarrass them, right? They hired you to do something specific. So what is that for your role? And then the last point I'd see here is your team are your brand and your power. And there's a really sad story here between Truss and Kwarteng, who was the finance minister, chancellor. And what happens here is they had been in a friendship for decades. They go back a really, really long way. They were touted as ideological equals. And the problem here is they're best friends. They have a lot of groupthink. That's problem number one. And so when they push this thing out, this mini budget out, what they should have done is have some kind of testing on that. But there was a lot of groupthink. But more importantly, the fact that she backed the man formally and informally that made such a blunder so early, he took her down. Now, if she'd appointed someone else, maybe who had not been as friendly to her, but had been a stronger chancellor, then she could have weathered this, right? Someone who could have pulled her through. Instead, she took a bet on a friend. And it took her down, because if you can't pick your cabinet as a senior leader, what are you good for, right? You have to pick a good team, right? That is your job. We used to coach this through, particularly with personal assistants, right? Because it's seen as something that's maybe not that important. It's not the core team. She's just an assistant. He's just an assistant that helps me with some things from time to time. But what happens is that is your gatekeeper. And if you have your gatekeeper as someone who you have not decided is going to reflect you in the very, very best way possible, it sheds doubt on all of your decision making. And it's a constant irritation for every other executive, whether it's a peer or a boss or a subordinate, that has to interact with you through your assistant, that they're reminded every single time, this person doesn't know how to pick talent. This person doesn't know how to get the best out of the people, right? This person is counterculture, right? And so it's more than just, hey, it's a nice thing to change, right? It could give you the next step up. I would actually go even further. It says your team is your brand. How your team act is your brand. Thank you for coming with me on that little journey. In conclusion, 3 things to think about. Early results, way more important than we give them credit for. The right results are vital, and we can think about that in anything that we do. Who am I getting results for? What should those results be? And then the third part is your team is your brand. How are your current team affecting your results, your access, and your power? Because they absolutely are reflecting on you every decision that they make. I hope this helps you in your coaching, in your leadership, and in your own personal journey. Thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure to be with you.